people, stay dandy, baby. In my review of the last episode of Yashahime, I pondered the question, will the final episode of the series have the ability to wrap up the entire storyline? Well, we get to figure out in the latest episode of Yashahime, and it's a big fat no. That's right, you're not going to get any solid answers in this episode, a big old dose of jack and shit. But worry not, my little half-demon princes and princesses, because at the end of this episode, we get the big announcement that there is indeed going to be a Season 2. And whether this was planned from the beginning, or the writers actually realized, oh crap, we don't have enough time, remains to be seen. But what about the final episode of Season 1? Does it live up to the hype? Do we get an epic confrontation with Beast King Kirinmaru? Well, if you're looking for a really cool action scene, this might be one of the best ones from Yashahime just yet. Does it make any discernible sense? Hell no. Is it really fun to watch? Yeah, it's got some really cool moments, although I have to admit, it is very disappointing that we aren't going to get any sort of solid conclusion to the current storyline. In fact, everything just seems to go into a big Dragon Ball direction, especially when things are pertaining to the Rainbow Pearls. In fact, I would say that Yashahime owes even more to Dragon Ball than it does to Inuyasha. I only say that because the entire episode essentially is just a giant Dragon Ball fight, and the Rainbow Pearls themselves suddenly decide to fly up into the sky and go off in multiple directions, which basically means the next season is going to be a grand adventure to find all of these again before Zero can get to them, before Sesshomaru can kill Zero, and not to mention Kirinmaru, who just basically wants to kill everyone. But what else happened in this episode? Well, really, it's just a massive battle with Kirinmaru, which I have to admit, honestly, didn't disappoint. It was a really cool fight, and one of the most visually awesome fights that I've actually seen in the entire Inuyasha series. And that is something to really get excited for. That and the fact that we finally get to see Towa unleash her true demonic abilities for the very first time, and they certainly don't disappoint. But what about the major story beats that happen in this episode? Well, it immediately picks up from the end of the last one where Kirinmaru has coming from the sky like a dark angel of death, and we get to see that he's at odds with his sister, who seems to want to take these Rainbow Pearls for herself and really seems to have it out for Sesshomaru. Sesshomaru decides that he's going to use the power of his other sword to try and take her down, but Kirinmaru decides to protect her. This causes a little bit of contention amongst them, and then suddenly Zero's like, you know what, screw you guys, I'm going home. She basically ends up disavowing her brother and decides to escape in the most ridiculous way possible with her weird spider thread staff. Sesshomaru decides that he's going to go after her, and all that's left is the three girls, Riku, and Kirinmaru. And it's pretty obvious that a big battle is about to take place, and one of the shocking things about this is that Riku actually manages to severely damage Kirinmaru with his sword, impaling him. And this basically gives the three girls something of a fighting chance when they end up going against him. But the fact of the matter is Kirinmaru is on a completely different level in terms of his powers, his abilities, and his experience. He's one of the oldest demons that we've actually seen in the series, so it would be kind of silly to think that these girls could even stand something of a chance. But they managed to get some pretty good hits in, and the first part of their battle is honestly really freaking intense and awesome, featuring some of the best animated action from the entire series, being very over the top and very stylistic. I was really hoping we could see a lot more of this through Yashahime, but I'm not going to complain too much as it looks really cool here. So Setsuna ends up getting like a really big hit on Kirinmaru. She uses the power of that weird blood blade which is on her arm. And really all this amounts to is just really pissing Kirinmaru off to the point where he ends up slashing her once with his sword, which pretty much kills her. That's one of the biggest shocking things about this entire episode, is that one of the major characters actually dies, and it's none other than Setsuna, which is definitely heartbreaking in a sense that the entire series has mostly revolved around the fact that Towa has been reunited with her, and that she's desperately trying to get her memories back. So this is one hell of a blow, and this is basically the Frieza killing Krillin moment, where Towa decides to just go insane and transform into a Super Saiyan. Moroha also comes back using the power of Inuyasha, and since they're actually on the grounds of where her basically grandfather died, her powers have been amplified as well, which is all sorts of awesome because now you have Moroha and Towa who have powered up to their big forms. Freaking Kirinmaru's going through a transformation himself. I'm still convinced he's some sort of dragon guy because he's growing horns, we see his face covered in scales, and even one of his arms transforms into like a dragon-like hand. It's really freaking awesome looking, and Towa herself has a great looking transformation with her hair getting a lot longer. She gets that distinctive crescent moon on her forehead just like Daddy Sesh, not to mention she gets some fangs. She's full on demon mode here, and this is where things just get batshit crazy. This is the part of the episode where you kind of just don't need to think about it and just enjoy it for what it is, as there's this moment where Kirinmaru just like swings his sword and all of these boulders explode up in the air, and then suddenly all of the characters are fighting in this massive like space and time. It basically looks like they're quite literally in space, and I'm not sure why this is. It could be just a visual element. It could be the fact that Kirinmaru wanted to bring them to another dimension so they wouldn't cause a lot of destruction at the death site of Toga, someone that he has great respect for. But basically, this is where the battle just goes off the rails, gets insane, and we get to see a lot of really cool spectacle and visuals. Towa manages to bring out a new technique, which is this twin-headed dragon attack. Moroha's, all of her attacks are basically just amplified to the nth degree, and they look all sorts of awesome. But even with these power-ups, even with their extreme anger and wanting to get back at Kirinmaru, he still manages to pretty much dominate this entire battle, pretty much ending it with one massive attack and leaving the girls completely wounded and defeated. Then we get the final part of the episode, where it's pretty clear that not everything is going to be wrapped up as the credits start to roll, and suddenly Kirinmaru decides to leave. But then Sesshomaru appears before his daughter, presenting her with the broken Tenseiga, and this could be potentially how they're going to bring Setsuna back. Now, I don't know if a broken sword is going to be able to do it, or maybe the next season is not just going to be about getting these rainbow pearls, but finding a way to reforge the Tenseiga. And it's also very convenient that Totosai is on his way to these battlegrounds as well, but he's also mentioning a very special blade, a brand new powerful sword, which I'm pretty sure is going to go to Towa, and that's because at the very end of the episode, they give us a visual confirming that Season 2 is going to be in production, and that Towa has a brand new sword in that image, and it's unlike any one that we've ever seen before, and I'm guessing that this is the mystical blade. And thus, the first season of Yashahime comes to an end. So what's the rundown on this episode of Yashahime? Man, I am conflicted with this episode. There are a lot of things that I loved about it. Being an action anime junkie, I really loved the production value that was just pumped into this episode because it looked visually really awesome. I was really waiting for this moment. It gave me everything that I didn't get from that first confrontation with Kirinmaru, which frankly was just painful to watch. This one had a lot of speed, a lot of impact, and a lot of really great effects to it. And just the fact that all of the characters were losing themselves to their demonic abilities and slowly transforming into monsters and battling each other was just, in a lack of better phrase, fucking awesome. I really did love the look of it. One of the biggest shocks about this episode, though, and one that I wish they didn't show in the preview for this episode, is the fact that there was going to be a potential major character death, and that, of course, ended up being Setsuna. I don't see this being the end of this character at all. It just feels kind of unceremonious. There's almost a 100% guarantee that Setsuna will return in the next season, but it does add a nice layer of devastation to the entire series, because like I said earlier, this entire show is about the reuniting of these sisters and them coming together, and to have it just suddenly taken away from her when she finally reaches the end of her goal is really hard-hitting. It shows that the next season is going to have a lot more stakes to it, especially when compared to this one, which overall was kind of all over the place in terms of its pacing and its tone, where some episodes would be devastatingly serious and others would be kind of goofy and kind of fillerish. Not to mention, there's still a lot of loose threads in the series that, we still haven't even gotten to. They spent the last couple of episodes showing us things that were going on in the modern era with Kirinmaru's doppelganger / descendant / possibly him in the future, with the whole Grim Comet. That's an entire storyline they never even got to complete, and it's very obvious. I don't think they even realized they had the time for it, and what better way to do that than with a second season. I can't wait to see how that's going to tie into everything. Not to mention, I know that old school Inuyasha fans just want to see their favorite characters again, and while a lot of them got some screen time in this season, especially Moroku, I want to see more of Sango. I really want to see Inuyasha and Kagome return. I want to know what they've been doing inside that Black Pearl this entire time, and I can't believe I'm even saying this, but where the hell is Shippo? What's going on with that little fox asshole? Inquiring minds want to know, and I certainly want to know what the deal is as well. So, I've come to terms with the fact that nothing is going to be fully resolved in this season, and there's going to be another one coming. My only high hopes for the next one is that they plan it out just a little bit more, And of course, they pump a little bit more thought and production value into it. If they can do a lot more of what they did in this episode, especially in terms of the production value, I think we could have something really good in the making. I really think that this could be a real proper sequel to Inuyasha, and it only makes sense that we would get another season for this show. I mean, Inuyasha was such a long-running show. It seems like the sequel getting only 24 episodes seems kind of mild in comparison to all the crazy things that happened in the original, but there is a lot of promise for the future. But overall, I have to say that the very first season of Yashahime, while it certainly had some really entertaining and nostalgic moments for it, was not perfect. It certainly had some cracks in the armor, but these cracks can be repaired in a second season. It's amazing what another season of a show can do in terms of repairing things from the past, but we'll have to see if they can actually pull that off. That being said, I can still recommend Yashahime to fans of classic Inuyasha. I mean, if you want to spend more time in this world with the characters that inhabit it, this might be the best way to actually do it so far. We're just going to have to wait and see how things are going to wrap up in the eventual future. I'm very excited to see what's actually going to be next. But yeah, I've had a lot of ups and downs with Yashahime. It's been all over the place in terms of its quality, but still, as a longtime Inuyasha fan, I still got a lot of enjoyment out of watching the show. I looked forward to it every week and seeing what was going to happen next, even if it was something that could potentially disappoint me. It gave me that old school, good classic anime feeling of waiting for a brand new episode and getting really excited for it. It didn't feel like work, it didn't feel like a slog. It just kind of was sloppy at times, I have to be perfectly honest. If I get to give the final episode like a score, in just terms of the storytelling alone, I want to give it a 3 out of 5. In terms of the action, I want to give it a 4 out of 5. Still not even the best animated action that I've ever seen, not even by a long shot. But it still had some really great moments for the series that were incredibly distinctive when compared to the past, and it is setting up another brand new, very exciting storyline for the future. A lot of us were under the impression that this is it, this is all that we were going to get, and the fact that there is going to be more is something worth getting excited about. But we're just going to have to wait and see, and I'm going to reserve my judgment until we get to that final season. Overall, though, I think that this was a pretty decent finale, but it certainly isn't going to wrap up anything, and that's going to disappoint some viewers. But you got my thoughts on the episode. I want to get yours. That's why I like doing these reviews. Tell me what you thought about the final episode of the first season of Yashahime in the comments section below. What did you think about that big confrontation with Kirinmaru? How about Towa going through that awesome transformation sequence? And will they be able to save Setsuna? I think it's pretty obvious, but I would love to hear your thoughts, and give me your thoughts about the entire first season overall, and what you hope to see or not hope to see from the second season of the show. Thank you guys so much for watching this review. Please subscribe to the channel for more videos just like this one. If you did like this video, make sure to give it a thumbs up. Really helps out this video a lot, and ensures more people can see my content. I also want to go ahead and take this time to thank all of my fellow patrons. You guys are some amazing Demon Kings yourselves, watching my videos, making monthly donations. Can't thank you enough for that. Remember, first-time donators, I'll review an anime series of your choosing. I definitely got some big Patreon reviews coming up. Please make sure and stay tuned for that. And I would also love to add your name to this list of amazing people that you currently see on screen right now. These are the super producers of Ace Guru. So thank you guys so much for watching this review. I'll see you all next time. And as always, stay down there, baby.